When a major tournament happens, I like to grab the winning team and try it out on the ladder. Try to see why it performed as well as it did and what kinds of threats the top players have to be ready for. I have already recorded with the team that won the Dortmund Regional Championship. I think that video will go up before this one, so you might have seen it already, and if not, check it out. But I also like to keep an eye out for interesting, unusual teams that perform well, and might be fun to test out on the ladder as well. And this one certainly caught my eye thanks to the Drifblim and the choice specs Toxtricity. Notably, according to the LabMouse usage stats, this was the only Drifblim in the entire tournament, but it performed extremely well. This team got top 8, and so not being part of the meta for the most part didn't slow it down at all, I guess. And we'll see what it can do today. This Drifblim has the combination of Psychic Seed activated by the Indeedee Psychic Terrain with Unburden, meaning that it will become extremely fast, and then it can set Tailwind for its teammates. Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap are both strong ways to target the many powerful physical attackers in this format, with Strength Sap also helping to keep Drifblim healthy. And then Acrobatics, of course, will do boosted flying type damage once the Psychic Seed is gone. The other Pokemon that caught my eye here is the choice specs Toxtricity. Toxtricity was one of the first Pokemon I tried out when I was first starting to dabble in VGC formats in Sword and Shield. And with Punk Rock boosting its sound-based moves, it'll do a ton of damage with Specs Overdrive, which I believe hits both opponents, and Specs Boom Burst, which hits every Pokemon on the field for a ton of damage except Toxtricity itself, and can be boosted by the normal Terra here. And you can pair it with the kommo-o, which I think with Soundproof will not take damage from its partner's Boom Burst. I'm pretty sure that's how that interaction will work. The kommo-o has an Iron Defense Body Press set, giving a little bit more physical bulk to this team, as well as Flamethrower with the Terra Fire. Hey, another Dragon type that can turn into a Fire type, being helpful, I would think, to cover, along with Body Press, to cover for Steel types that try to handle Boom Burst Toxtricity. In particular, stuff like Goldango has to watch out for Flamethrower. Then you have the Assault Vest Hydreigon, which seems pretty strong into some Trick Room teams, Psy Spam and the like, covering for some of those strong special attackers in the format that way. You also have an anti-Trick Room tech with the Indeedee. It's a male Indeedee with Imprison and Trick Room to shut down an opponent's Trick Room. And then male, of course, is the more offensive Indeedee. This one has Ground Terra Blast. I'm not really sure what that's for, but maybe we'll figure that out. And then, speaking of unusual Terra types, you have the Terra Fairy Life Orb Volcarona. This one, I think, is probably supposed to help cover for the many Dragon types that are running around in the format, because this kommo-o set can have trouble with Dragons. The Hydreigon's kind of shaky into them depending on the situation, and the Toxtricity, if it's locked into Overdrive, probably doesn't want to see a Dragon. So I think the Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, Volcarona is probably very helpful into those. But we'll give this team a go on the ladder, and we'll see. I'm going to cut the recording for a second just to adjust some of the EVs, because I don't think I like what I did with a couple Pokemon. And this is a good time for the, unfortunately, fairly common disclaimer in these videos. I did look around to see if the original creators' EV spreads were available anywhere, but I didn't find them, so I came up with my own EV spreads for this video, and I can pretty much guarantee that they're worse than the originals. But that's okay, should still be a fun team. I'm going to make a quick cut to edit those spreads, and then we'll be back for the ladder. Alright, and now it's time. Let's go find a game. Hopefully the Toxtricity will put in some work. Toxtricity, I think, is one of the more popular Pokemon from Sword and Shield, which honestly I don't entirely understand. I'm not a big fan of its design, personally, but it's a really interesting Pokemon in how it plays, and it's cool to get a chance to try it out here. As we see a Farigiraf Ursaluna team, they also have Whimsicott and Annihilate, and then some strong special attackers in Volcarona and Primarina. I feel like these aren't the kinds of matchups that we have Volcarona for. Maybe not Hydreigon either, although Hydreigon has... Actually, Terra Ghost Hydreigon does kind of shut down most Ursaluna sets, so that's something worth considering. Terra Ghost... And with the Assault Vest, it might be strong against special attackers. This could actually be a good Terra Ghost Hydreigon game. I could bring Drifblim, Indeedee, Toxtricity Hydreigon. The question then is, do I want kommo-o in this game? I think kommo-o is reasonable here, but I don't think I need it. I think I will do those 4 that I said, and we'll see if that's actually good. As they lead Whimsicott Farigiraf, so a lot of speed control options on the field for them. I don't necessarily want to set Tailwind right now, although actually I probably do, just because my Pokemon are going to be faster anyway, so if they do go for a Trick Room game plan, I don't know that I really lose anything setting Tailwind compared to what the situation would be otherwise. So I will just set Tailwind, I guess. And oh, right, I have Imprison. Yeah, so I'll do that. I was just thinking about clicking Expanding Force with Indeedee. I forgot I could do this. Okay. Yeah, so we deny Trick Room. They get a light screen up, but the Whimsicott is not going to enjoy this Acrobatics if it stays in. And actually, another cool tech on this team that I didn't think about before I started playing, kind of like how Porygon 2 can take advantage of Terra Blast being a special normal type attack before it terrestrializes, Indeedee also gets Stab normal Terra Blast here. That said, I think I'll go for an Expanding Force. We can pick up Whimsicott through a Focus Sash. Oh, they have the Misty Terrain. Okay. Light Screen, Misty Terrain, Whimsicott. Wow. So they turn off my Psychic Terrain, but not before Drifblim gets its Unburden boost. And since I targeted the single target Expanding Force into Whimsicott, we still pick that up. Now we see the Primarina. I still haven't seen a physical attacker from the other side, so Drifblim's Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap are not showing a ton of value so far. This would be a good position to get Toxtricity in, but I think I can play it safe and chip these Pokemon down with Indeedee some more, probably. As we see Terra Steel on the Primarina. It's going to resist both of my hits here. Actually, a Ground Terra Blast from Indeedee would have been strong, but Indeedee goes down, and I think we're good with that here. I think, effectively, I was trying to sack Indeedee. The Farigiraf just goes for another Throat Spray, which doesn't work on Drifblim. And now, I still think it's worthwhile. I mean, yeah, I can still... Sure, the Primarina turned its electric weakness off, but locking Toxtricity into Overdrive here should still do a ton of damage. And if they bring Ursaluna in, I have Strength Sap available on Drifblim. In fact, I'm just going to Strength Sap the Primarina slot right now. Maybe we can catch Ursaluna on a switch in and just go for Overdrive. Primarina. Okay, they keep both of their Pokemon in. We still get a bit of recovery from that. I guess they'll set Trick Room here. Yeah, they do. But what? How much did Acrobatics do to Primarina? 27% with a crit, so it might KO. And if I get rid of Primarina, then I think I can win with Hydreigon. I still haven't used my Terra, so... Again, Terra Ghost Assault... Terra Ghost Hydreigon with the Levitate ability just walls most Ursaluna sets. Although this person is running some unusual sets on their Pokemon, so maybe they have Shadow Claw. But we'll see. I'll just click another Overdrive with Toxtricity. As I don't get rid of the Primarina, that's unfortunate, but they do launch the Resisted Moonblast and the Poison-type Toxtricity. So I do actually manage to get rid of the Primarina. We preserve Hydreigon in the back, because I think that's probably my win con. I think Ursaluna makes the most sense for them to have in the back. That turn was messier than I hoped, but... Yeah, the fact that they hit Toxtricity with a Moonblast instead of a Water attack gave it the chance to... Actually, the Primarina dropped to Life Orb Recoil, so never mind. But Toxtricity KOing the Farigiraf was still nice. And now I can go Terra Ghost Hydreigon and just Dark Pulse into the Ursaluna. Toxtricity is locked into Overdrive, but that's okay, because Hydreigon is the win con from here. Yep, as Ursaluna goes for Earthquake, but of course it doesn't affect Hydreigon, nor will Facade or Headlong Rush. I would Protect here if I had it, just to get out of the Trick Room, but I don't have it. And, yep, they show Facade, so no Shadow Claw or anything, and they just can't touch Hydreigon. So that's a very cool thing about this Hydreigon set. We certainly saw it put in work there. And let's see what the next game has in store for us. Tyranitar Excadrill team. A duo that I keep saying I want to try and I still haven't. With Sinistcha, Primarina, Volcarona, and Braviary. I think Braviary gets Defiant. It does, but I don't have an Intimidate user on this team. I don't want to Strength Sap it, though, probably. This looks like a reasonable kommo-o game, except the Primarina is an issue. I guess the Braviary is kind of an issue as well. Doesn't look like a very good Toxtricity game. Actually, it looks like a kind of a tough matchup. The Terra Grounded DD might help me cover some of these threats, which might start to shed some light on what it's for. I think I'd want Drifblim and DD again. I think kommo-o is reasonable here. Volcarona. I didn't mean to actually click on it there. Is Volcarona good here? Not especially, but it's not too bad with the Fairy Terra. I feel like I kind of bring Hydreigon by process of elimination. I can Terrastallize it around the Moonblast weakness if I need to. And I'll bring Toxtricity just to be able to get damage off into most of these Pokemon if I have Tailwind up. They lead Sinistcha Primarina. So I can set Tailwind here, and they could have Trick Room on the Sinistcha. On this team, I don't think it's especially likely, so I'll just go right for the Expanding Force instead of messing around with Imprison. And if I'm wrong, then good for them, they fooled me. Expanding Force, it does some chip. They do have the Trick Room, okay. Well, you know, I can try to reverse their Trick Room. I do have that option available to me. They'll probably KO and DD before I can do it, though, won't they? I'll target an Acrobatics into Primarina. I don't have Protect on DD. Terra Ground doesn't help here. I'll click Expanding Force, but I think I just lose in DD here, yeah. The Life Dew. The Acrobatics into Primarina is not very helpful. I can get Hydreigon in here. Terra Ghost. It's earlier in the game than I would have liked, but the alternative is what? Lock Toxtricity into Overdrive? I think I need Hydreigon to put in a lot of work from this point on if this is going to work out at all. Acrobatics into Sinistcha, and I will click Terra Ghost. I guess Earth Power into Primarina. I could go for Snarl. But maybe Snarl's better here, actually. Because I think they probably heal their Primarina again. I think I need to be a little more patient. Oh, they actually protect it. Okay. And they heal it. But that gives me a couple of free hits into Sinistcha, and I think this will KO. So at least they can't heal the Primarina anymore. But now we have to deal with whatever's in the back. And I still have 2 more turns of Trick Room. And there are not a lot of Protects on this team that I'm using. And we see an issue with the Terra Ghost Hydreigon here as they get the Tyranitar in. So turning off the Fairy weakness is nice, but now we're weak to this. I'll try to get a Strength Sap into Tyranitar. I don't think they'll let me. I think they'll KO Drifblim first, but I mean, the only play I can see here is to sack Toxtricity. No, that's not even gonna, because they still have another turn of Trick Room, and I lose Hydreigon on the next turn. So what was the right way to approach this matchup? I think it is just a tough matchup for this team to an extent. I mean, the Terra Fire kommo-o is just always weak into the Primarina. Very weak in the Primarina. Doesn't even really have a way to hit it hard. I mean, I guess I could have denied their Trick Room turn 1. I didn't think this team was going to have Trick Room, so good tech for them there. That could have helped quite a bit, because then I could have overwhelmed the Primarina with my speed control. So I guess that's the main thing. In open team sheets, I know they have Trick Room, but I didn't know this time. Alright, ooh, a Serperior. That's a Pokemon I'm familiar with these days. They've got it with Incineroar and Primarina, kind of like my first version. Garchomp, kind of like my current version of my Serperior team. Corviknight, which is something I might try out soon. And then the Alola Ninetales. So this Superior is probably going to be an offensive one, not setting screens, because they have the Ninetales for that. Once again, I kind of like kommo-o here. The only thing... Actually, I like kommo-o a lot here. The only thing is the Primarina. I suppose I can cover for Primarina with Toxtricity. How do I position this? I could do... Drifblim. Kommo-o, Toxtricity. Toxtricity can be forced out by Garchomp. Also, I might want to Volt Switch into something to see how they play their Terra around it. So it might be worthwhile to bring Hydreigon in the back as a ground immunity that I can bring in on Garchomp. Or just to cover for anything they might throw at Toxtricity. Maybe Volcarona would be better, but we're going with Hydreigon. I don't want to stack up Primarina weaknesses too much, although honestly, it feels like this team... Well, at least if I don't get the speed control right, it feels like this team can pretty easily have some issues with Primarina. Try to set Tailwind here. Well, I mean, I think I'll be able to. They can't fake out Drifblim. Because it's a Ghost type. I can just go for the Fire Terra if I want. And start setting up kommo-o. I'm just going to protect for now. I want to scout how they try to deal with kommo-o. The Blizzard does a lot to Drifblim. Okay. Yeah, in that case, the Fire Terra is probably fairly safe. The only thing is I'm mindful of is a possible Primarina in the back. I'll Strength Sap into Incineroar. Except Drifblim's slower than Ninetales. But there's nobody I want to switch in on Ninetales. So I'll Strength Sap into Incineroar if they let me. I probably just lose Drifblim. Actually, no, I have Tailwind up now, so I don't just lose Drifblim here. Necessarily. And I'll go for a... oops. I'll go for a Terrafire Iron Defense. Might hurt my positioning later against the Primarina is the only thing. But, okay, they protect Ninetales, so we get Drifblim nice and healthy. Gets knocked off, not so healthy anymore. As here, I think the Incineroar might want to switch out, so I'm just going to go for an Acrobatics and a Body Press into that slot. Again, I'm alert to the Primarina possibly being in the back, and if it does switch in here, I'd at least like to get some damage on it, as, yeah, there it is. They're a Ghost Ninetales, but I went for the Body Press into the other slot. Of course, it does limited damage, but we'll get another chance to damage Primarina here. It might protect. I can sack Hydreigon, get Drifblim back in and Tailwind back up. Although, again, I have the slower than Ninetales problem in that case. Alright, let's just try to get damage onto Primarina if we can. Protect kommo-o for now. Primarina protects, yeah, I kind of thought it might. They'll KO Drifblim, so I can't get Tailwind back up, but I can get Toxtricity in. And just lock into Overdrive. And set up another Iron Defense, I think. They bring Garchomp. Okay. Alright. Smart, they're preserving their Primarina, but now I can switch Hydreigon in. If that's a sacrifice, so be it, but maybe it can come in on an Earthquake or something. kommo-o should be okay at +4 defense to go for a Body Press into Garchomp. You see the Incineroar come back in on their side. Stomping Tantrum into the Hydreigon slot, so they do no damage this turn. Garchomp takes a lot from the Body Press. I'll try to KO Garchomp if I can. Of course, it might be faster than Hydreigon. Good chance it is. And... oh, they also can fake out Hydreigon, but I can't switch... I don't think I can switch Toxtricity in here. What I can do is double target Garchomp. That hopefully one of my Pokemon gets an attack off into it, and it looks like Kommo-o will. Well, that Stomping Tantrum still does more than I'd like. But we do get rid of Garchomp, at least. Primarina's back. Ugh. This is tough. I'll try to weaken it with Earth Power, and I'll protect Kommo-o, get a little bit of recovery. They protect Primarina, okay. Yeah, I mean, they know it's their win con. See if we can get rid of it here. Both my Pokemon take that Blizzard. Hydreigon's frozen. They're both frozen! And they both stay frozen. Unbelievable. Oh, but I didn't even... All this time I've worried about the Primarina matchup, I forgot that Soundproof Kommo-o would be immune to Hyper Voice, which means after the Fire Terra, it resists it resists everything that a lot of Primarina have to throw at it. I didn't even think of that until now. The Double Freeze is really unfortunate. I hope they both thaw here. Actually, Hydreigon's going to drop to a Blizzard anyway, isn't it? But I would have liked to be able to protect Kommo-o there. Oh, the Haze is also bad news there from the Primarinas. That takes away a lot of my potential damage into it. Okay, hopefully Toxtricity can take Blizzard here and get this KO with Overdrive. As I will, again, try to protect Kommo-o. Stays frozen. Gets KO'd by the Blizzard. Toxtricity does get 2 KOs with the Overdrive, but of course I don't have Protect, so Incineroar can just knock it out with Fake Out now. Yeah. And that one was just not meant to be. The fact that they froze both of my Pokemon in the same turn, and neither one ever thawed. I mean, sometimes there's just not much you can do about that. It's a little unfortunate. It felt like a nice positional game up to that point, but... hey, that's an upside to you using Alolan Ninetales, right? Making a good case for that Pokemon in this video. Here we see Murkrow, Hariyama, Volcarona, Kommo-o, Orthworm, and Breloom. So this is going to be some really annoying setup stuff. And I don't know how to beat it. I don't, of course I don't have... what's the ability on Kommo-o? Overcoat, the block Spore? I don't have that. Do I have any Spore immunity on this team? Just the Terra Grass Drifblim. Which honestly I think is worth leading, if only to get, excuse me, a Will-O-Wisp into something and match a possible Tailwind from the Murkrow. I can lead Kommo-o to at least make it hard for them to break through with Iron Defense. I can bring... I think it's time to bring Volcarona finally. It can hit some of these Pokemon hard. And then Hydreigon can kind of cover for the rest, I hope. So we see... yeah, Murkrow and Breloom. I'm going to go right for a Will-O-Wisp into Breloom. Deny it Poison Heal if I connect. And make it harder for it to do much other than Spore. And I'll go... they're going to have Haze on the Murkrow, aren't they? I want to go right for an Iron Defense. You know what? It's not the worst thing if I make them commit a turn to clearing the thing. Is actually, okay, I guess I should have gone for the Grass Terra there with the Drifblim. It is not Poison Heal Breloom, so probably Technician then. Hopefully we wake up here. I'll just protect Kommo-o. Slow this down a little bit. We do see the Haze from the Murkrow. Okay, Drifblim gets the first turn wake. My Pokemon bouncing back nicely from the freeze issues last game. And we get the burn into Breloom. Here I'll go for my own Tailwind. And I think I'll switch out to Volcarona. Hydreigon's not really accomplishing much setup here as... okay, Drifblim does go right back to sleep. But... Volcarona, I think, is free to throw off a Heat Wave here. except it gets put to sleep too. Silly me. But I don't seem to have much counterplay to that. I mean, there is the Grass Terror on Drifblim, which I have just not been using so far. That would be a pretty good answer to Breloom if I were using it. Hopefully I get Tailwind here. A Close Combat is still doing quite a bit through the burn. And Volcarona stays asleep. I'll try to protect Volcarona and set Tailwind. This would be a very good time for both of my Pokemon to wake up. Volcarona wakes up. Drifblim gets KO'd. Okay. Not ideal. Back to kommo-o, I guess. Yeah, maybe I did need that Terra Grass Drifblim this game. It felt weird committing it so early, but the Breloom and Tailwind has just been a menace even with the burn. I can't set up Iron Defense in front of the Murkrow. I mean, actually I can next turn. Well, let's just go for a Flamethrower into Breloom and a Heat Wave. They reset the Breloom's defensive drops, but honestly I wasn't really thinking about those anyway. We do finally get it off the board, but not before Volcarona takes another nap. I think I'll Terra Fire kommo-o here to cover for a Dragon attack from their kommo-o. And I can't set up Iron Defense, can I? I can Flamethrower a Murkrow. Try to get some damage on that. Alternatively, I can Terra Fairy the Volcarona, but only after... That only makes sense, I think, after it wakes up. But that might be what I have to do to win this, so I'll just try to get a Terra Blast into their kommo-o. Need some luck here. As we protect on their Draco Meteor, avoiding that at least. Volcarona stays asleep. Okay. Well. Pretty rough one so far, huh? They can Terra their kommo-o around my Terra Blast, so actually let's protect Volcarona this turn. This is the turn Volcarona wakes up, and we see no Terra from the kommo-o. It just goes right for Draco Meteor into my kommo-o. Which at least doesn't KO. That's something, I guess. Let's see if they let us get the Tail Blast, the Terra Blast off here. Ah, they can reset its drop, of course. They get Iron Head into Volcarona. So it has Iron Head and Draco Meteor. Some interesting coverage there. They said GG already. Feels a little disrespectful, but they're probably right. There's the Terra Steel kommo-o. Just as I go for Draco Meteor into it. And yeah, that Breloom just had me on the back foot the whole game. I don't know if I'll upload this one. This was pretty rough, but yeah, I probably will. It's probably fine to have my good and bad moments shown off, right? I guess. Although, I mean, if I use the Grass Terra to deal with the Breloom, then I don't have the Fairy Terra available for kommo-o anymore. Though maybe with Drifblim I can still force the Terra Steel out, and then Volcarona can cover it that way. So I do think it's hard to sketch the whole thing out, but I think my biggest mistake in this game was hesitating to commit the Grass Terra into the Drifblim, and therefore letting Breloom run wild even with the burn, and cause all kinds of trouble for me. Yeah, so this was kind of a rough one, for sure. I think the team is fun and cool. I really like a lot of the concepts that went into it, but I guess I didn't know how to play into some of the matchups, and that double freeze was really hard to deal with. And that's the game we play, so that was the Drifblim Toxtricity team, and I don't know what's going to be next, but see you then.